State Library Victoria was founded in the middle of the 19th century, and it was founded by a culture that was strongly patriarchal and which had a tendency to overlook the achievements of women in intellectual and creative endeavours. Recognising this, Des Cowley and I, working with the Rare Books collection, along with our colleagues Janelle Colston-Ing and Judy Buchan, got together with two very special donors, Helen Sykes and Christina Campbell-Priddy, to begin to think about how we could redress that imbalance. And that's how the Women Writers Fund was born.
It's a movement that's happening globally in all major public institutions, art galleries, libraries increasingly. It's long overdue, because while women have theoretically had equal rights for a very long time now, over 100 years, they haven't always been recognised retrospectively.
I think it's so important for young women to see examples of what's possible. I don't thoroughly believe I cannot be what I cannot see, but I think it's much more difficult to be what you cannot see.
With the support of Helen and Christina, we have been able to start making acquisitions using the Women Writers Fund. So in the last few months we've been able to acquire almost 50 works across a real range of authors, including some iconic authors like Harper Lee, through to lesser known authors like Gertrude Bell, the archaeologist and traveller, whose collected letters you see in a 1927 first edition. One of our early and very exciting major purchases with the fund was the third edition of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. The famous Gothic novel that Shelley began writing when she was very young, just a teenager, was published originally in 1818 anonymously, and then it wasn't until the second edition that her name was actually attached to the book. So a very exciting early acquisition for the fund.
Émilie de Chatelet, a French philosopher and scientist, writing in the 1730s and 40s, doing things like translating Isaac Newton's masterwork into French, and that text still being used in schools today. Incredible. She also did philosophical books of her own, and my understanding is we now either have or soon will have an example of those works dating from the 1700s. I think that's an enormous achievement.
I'm very happy that we've been able to acquire an early edition of Virginia Woolf's Orlando, and also because, and very appropriately because of Australia's role as one of the First Nations to give women the vote, the acquisition of 2 volumes of Sylvia Pankhurst's wonderful suffragette periodical Germinal.
We are getting Germinal, I know, which was a very much left, extremely socialist newspaper. It ultimately became the communist magazine, I believe. So just to show how extreme it was, but it's an example of the free thought that these women were able to have. I would hope that this is just the beginning. I think once we tell people about this, there must be literally hundreds, if not thousands, of people, both men and women, who would want to contribute, whether it's $5, $50 or $5,000, just contribute.
We have a long list of things we'd like to get, and it's really exciting that this is something that any woman in Victoria, and not only women, but women who love the library, can feel is their own.